For over 2 decades, XTERRA has brought together some of the world's fittest, toughest, and craftiest endurance athletes for a series of off-road triathlons, races that combine open water swimming, mountain biking, and trail running, and demand skill and tenacity, guile and grit. In this, the 24th season of XTERRA Racing, the sport's appeal continues to grow. And as more and more professional athletes are drawn to its unique challenges, the stakes are higher, and the victories harder to come by. But it's more than just elite triathletes who live and breathe XTERRA. For the thousands of age group competitors, training can become a personal mission, and reaching an XTERRA finish line represents a major life accomplishment. For episode 10, we head to Utah, home of the spectacular Great Salt Lake, Snowbasin Resort, and Anita Coyle, a mother of 4 whose world was turned upside down last January.
So I met Jason right after I graduated from high school. We met at a church activity and we both were in love with each other immediately. But we didn't know we were in love with each other. He didn't think I was interested and I didn't think he was particularly interested. So it took a little while for us to make the connection, and then we dated for about 1.5 years and I got married when I was 19, super old. Jason was the best. So Jason taught junior high English to 8th graders and all of his students loved him. He was probably the most popular teacher at his school. Jason was super hands-on with the kids. He was involved in bedtime every single night. We used to laugh that he was the pool mom, not me, because in the summer he would take the kids to the park and he would take the kids to the pool. He would take them with all the other moms while I was either working or training.
Last year, Coyle, who competes in the women's 35 to 39 age group, qualified to race the XTERRA World Championship in Maui. She wanted to go. Her husband looked at finances and vacation schedules and urged Anita to wait until 2019.
My personal feeling is you have to take the chance when it comes, because you never know if you're going to get that chance again, right? And he didn't feel that same way. He felt confident that if I had qualified once, that I would be able to qualify again. After we kind of came to terms with not going in 2018, we came to the agreement that in 2019, it would be the year. It was going to be our 20th anniversary, and our anniversary is in October. I would train really hard. We were going to take a family vacation to the race in Colorado to give me another chance to qualify, and it was just going to be the year that we were going to save money and we were going to do it the responsible, reasonable, voice of reason way.
That sounds a little bit more rational.
You cannot be on his side. He was wrong.
Anita refocused on 2019, but soon suffered a health setback, thyroid cancer.
So on January 2nd, it was a Wednesday, I went in to have surgery on my thyroid. So Wednesday he was at the hospital with me, so he missed his morning swim. So the next day, while I was still recovering, it was Thursday, he decided that he was going to go to the pool to swim when I would have generally gone to the pool, so he could get his swim in. He came in, I was snuggling with my 2-year-old to try and get him to go to sleep so that I could go to sleep. He came in to kiss me goodbye, and I was laying on the bed with Owen, and he leaned forward to kiss me, but I didn't lean back up because my neck was sore, so I touched my fingers to my lips and to his lips, and he walked out the door, went to swimming. We just went on with our night. All of the kids went to bed amazingly easy, which is not normal. And then about 9:30, a police officer came to my door and told me that there had been an incident at the pool, asked me if my husband was at the pool that night. I told him he was, and he told me that I needed to go to the hospital, but didn't tell me anything beside that.
When Anita arrived at the hospital, a doctor gave her the shattering news. Jason had died at the pool that night. An avid endurance athlete who once completed a 10-mile swim, he had fallen victim to a heart arrhythmia, the result of a previously undiagnosed defect. John Jason Coyle was 42.
So the first weeks after he died I felt like I was living in a different universe. It just didn't feel like, it just felt so weird and so bizarre. It was so hard to come to terms with how a person can be here and then just be gone. So it's still hard. Raising 4 kids by yourself raising kids with a partner is hard. So it is really, really difficult. And I tell my kids all the time that we just have to be a team and we have to help each other. And a lot of the stuff you just have to do. You know, you don't really have a choice because the kids, if they're hungry, they'll come tell you that they're hungry. So they kind of get you, they kind of force you to live a little bit.
Show me what it means to love, warm until you die.
Oh, I found you the perfect fit.
Let it burn as hot as the Tennessee sky.
I think about Jason probably every minute of every day.
Baby, won't you take this part of mine?
XTERRA Adventures is presented by Utah, the state of sport. Tea Tree, eco-minded hair care infused with natural botanicals. Discover the natural magic of Tea Tree. This segment is brought to you by Tea Tree by Paul Mitchell.
Before Jason died, I used running as medicine, and a few weeks, probably 2 weeks after he died was the first time I went running, and I remember the feeling that I had when I went running, and it was an feeling, and I knew that I had to keep doing that because I needed that before, and so I would really need it after, and honestly has been my lifeline. I don't, like on the days that I don't get a workout in, I can tell a very significant difference in how I'm able to cope and my mood. My brain's used to those chemicals. It needs them even more right now. So that's my main coping strategy, actually.
As Coyle worked to adjust her new reality, thoughts of the XTERRA World Championship crept into her mind. After an unthinkably tragic start to the year, she wondered if she might be able to qualify for Maui again.
I started to look forward to it, and it was really the only thing that I looked forward to. It was the only goal that felt meaningful, that felt like I was trying to accomplish anything. Everything else just felt like checking boxes, like I was just going through the motions. But that was something that kept me motivated towards something.
Coyle fell short of her goal at XTERRA Beaver Creek in July, but knew she'd have another shot at XTERRA Utah, to be held at Snowbasin Resort, almost her own backyard. So she kept training, and single parenting, and grieving, documenting her journey in a series of brutally honest, wrenching, and sometimes hilarious social media posts, and learning a lot about her own reserves of perseverance in the process.
I've made it this far, and I can keep going. I've learned that when things get hard, I don't quit. I've learned that I have amazing people around me. I've learned that you can still joke around even when you're sad. I've learned that kids are resilient. I've learned what not to say to people when they're grieving. I've learned a lot about the goodness of people. Most people are just trying their best to be good and trying to help in any way they can.
Saturday, September 7th, a spectacular late summer day in the thin air of Ogden, Utah, as several hundred competitors prepared for the grueling event. Among the contenders in the men's elite race were Sam Osborne, a New Zealander who had already won 5 XTERRAs this season, and Karsten Madsen, a 27-year-old from Ontario, who grew up playing Canada's national sport, ice hockey, before realizing endurance events would give him a better chance to fulfill his athletic ambitions.
For me, I wanted to be a professional athlete my whole life, and you know, you never really know that it's going to work out, and you kind of hold this, almost as a naive hope. 2010 was my first pro race, but it wasn't until 2013 that I felt I was starting to be competitive among the pro field.
At Madsen's first XTERRA in Whistler, British Columbia, he found himself both humbled and hooked.
I got to the finish line, and yes, I was beat by a lot of guys, but I also had this that was incredibly fun. That was incredibly epic. I want to do this again, and that was really what kind of lit the fire into this is 100% what I want to chase, and I want to become the best I can at this.
Madsen's best made him one of the best in the world. In 2016, he enjoyed a breakthrough season, going on a winning streak and gaining enough sponsors so he could legitimately make a living as an XTERRA pro. Then, a long-term relationship ended. He found himself listless and unfocused, bouncing from training bases in Canada and Barbados, and failing to finish at the World Championships in either 2016 or 2017.
People were beating me again, and I felt I was declining, and so there's a lot of mental kind of anxiety that goes on that, and probably one of the hardest moments was in Maui in 2017 was just mentally just quitting on the race. And I remember just getting back to transition and throwing my helmet down out of frustration.
This segment is brought to you by Maui Gym Sunglasses.
You can't just have a car.
Alright. Most people wonder why my hair stays in place when I race. And it's good hair products. If you look good, you race fast.
In 2018, Madsen pulled himself out of his funk. He started meditating, did some training with Canada's national triathlon team, and found himself fit and refocused. Then, this April, a setback. Madsen fainted during a race in Spain. The scary episode was a result of atrial fibrillation, a heart arrhythmia with which he'd been diagnosed in high school. Forced to leave the triathlon circuit, Madsen went back to Canada to undergo a procedure called a cardiac ablation. He returned to competition in July, placing third at XTERRA Victoria in British Columbia.
I was very frustrated at the finish line of that for about 5 minutes, and then I pulled myself out of it and was like, whoa, wait a second, you had 4 catheters in your femoral artery a week and a bit ago. You need to give yourself a little bit of a break.
By September, Madsen was stronger, mentally and physically, and ready to take on some of the world's best at XTERRA Pan American Championship.
Right here, less than 10 minutes.
Sam Osborne took the lead during the 1.5-kilometer swim in Pineview Reservoir and was followed closely out of the water by American Brandon Rikita and Rakita's friend and training partner, Madsen. Meanwhile, in the women's pro race, Samantha Kingsford, who, like her boyfriend Osborne, hails from New Zealand, had a healthy lead of more than a minute after the swim. She was followed into Transition 1 by Fabiola Corona of Mexico and Susie Snyder of Reno, Nevada. Scotland's Leslie Patterson, the reigning XTERRA world champion, was in 6th, more than 2 minutes off the pace. On the 30-kilometer bike segment, which climbs to 7,300 feet of elevation, Osborne pushed early.
I got into the bike and there was no time to really muck around. I put the hammer down, and if they were going to ride across to me, I was going to make them work hard for it.
Work hard for it they did. Madsen moved his way up to Osborne, as did 20-year-old Australian Dean Kane, who made a big move at the start of the grueling ascent up Sardine Peak.
Dean Kane threw an attack down that I just couldn't respond to. It's as the altitude climbs a little higher, and at that point he kind of charged off, and Sam went with him. And again, that was one of these avenues of I knew I needed to control my pace and see what I could produce on the run.
Osborne and Kane, the Kiwi and the Aussie, came into Transition 2 together, with Madsen about a minute and a half back. But Osborne immediately surged, putting a 2-minute gap on a fast-fading Kane in the first mile of the run. It was a decisive move by Osborne, who broke the tape in 2 hours, 28 minutes, and 48 seconds for the Pan American Championship and his 6th XTERRA victory of the season. Madsen finished 3.5 minutes back in 2nd place, and his friend, American Brandon Rakita, was 3rd. Kane ran 12 minutes slower than Osborne and wound up 7th. For Madsen, the runner-up result was acceptable, considering that he was only 3 months removed from a serious medical procedure.
I wanted to win today, and at the end of the day I came 2nd. But 2nd is a great result to a great athlete like Sam, and there was great athletes behind me. And so again, it's based on having a good mindset at the start of the race that it allows you to achieve high finishes in races.
XTERRA Adventures is presented by Utah, the state of sport. XTERRA, racing and apparel for your active lifestyle. Visit xterraplanet.com. Back at the Pan American Championship in Utah, in the women's race, Samantha Kingsford, the leader after the swim, posted the fastest bike split of the day and had a nearly 3-minute lead heading into the run. But no deficit is insurmountable for the Scottish rocket. Leslie Patterson, the reigning world champ, laid down a blistering run split of 46 minutes, 25 seconds, more than 4 minutes faster than Kingsford, to take the tape and the title.
The run was really strong for me today. I had a lot to catch up on. So I was able to catch Sam up about mile 4. So I just felt really strong and confident that I could do that. So I was very pleased.
In the amateur race, Anita Coyle, just 8 months removed from the sudden loss of her husband, had a goal. Finished top 4 in the women's 35 to 39 age group to qualify for the World Championship in Maui, a race she had originally planned on attending with Jason. Supported by a loving crew of friends, family, and her 4 children, Coyle laid down a solid swim and a career-best performance on the mountain bike. On the run, she was suffering, as her quads, calves, and hamstrings all seized with cramps. But the physical pain was inconsequential when compared to the emotional anguish she had suffered since last January 3rd. And Coyle, in a demonstration of resilience and fortitude, persevered, recording a personal best time for the course, placing 4th, earning her spot in Maui, and in doing so, honoring her husband's memory.
Jason was the best. Jason gave people a chance who didn't deserve a chance. Jason could make anybody laugh. He could make anybody feel like they were his best friend. Jason cared about people. Jason was the best dad that I think there ever was. You know, people have asked me what Jason would think about how things are going, and I think he would be proud of how we're managing. I mean, it's not perfect. We used to joke that we were not a well-oiled machine, but we were an adequately lubricated machine, and we're not even that anymore. But we're making it, and I think he would be proud under the circumstances that we're even, you know, like, not completely seized engine.
You're fat. I'm kind.
Coming up in the next episode, the XTERRA World Tour heads for the first time to China, where a new wave of local off-road triathlon stars, including an inspiring disabled athlete, take to the trails of Kunming for an inaugural XTERRA event, while a three-time world champion shows he has no plans to relinquish his hold on the sport's top echelon. That's next time on XTERRA Adventures.